guys, it's Wonder from the Wonder of Nature. What I have for you today is it's kind of a personal video, so I won't be going into much detail, but I wanted to just briefly go over my journey so far with deity. Okay, now let me give a little backstory. So when I first started practicing witchcraft, or being a practicing pagan, it was for me a lot easier to transition from Christianity to paganism by being a Christo-pagan. Okay, now a Christo-pagan is where you still believe. Now different Christo-pagans will believe different things, but or to practice in different ways. Like with all witchcraft, paths are very personal and very but anyway, so I was Christo-pagan, and the way that I practiced it and the way that my friends did was we still believed in God and Jesus Christ and all of that, but we chose to worship him in a very pagan way, with through nature and the moon and spells and rituals and things like that. So that was a easier transition for me than just going from Christian to pagan. And so my cat's right down here. And so at that time, the prospect of working with deity, any other deity, never crossed my mind. I had always said that I would never work with deity. It just wasn't something that called out to me. It wasn't something that I felt I needed in my spiritual practice. So as the years went on, and I was a Christo-pagan for a few years, and then it just kind of transitioned into me questioning and me just going further down the path of not being Christian, basically. And so I got a lot more comfortable with saying I was pagan, or saying that I practiced, witchcraft, or as I say now, my spirituality. I don't really put, I don't really say paganism or pagan or witch or witchcraft. I just say my spirituality, because that's how I view all religions, or all things that people believe and practice. It's all one spirituality, right? So then I came across the term, and it just left my brain. The bat stole it. Pantheism, I think, is the term. If I am incorrect, please let me know. But it's basically where you believe everything is divine. Every single thing is divine, and every single thing that people believe is divine, right? So I really got interested in that, and I was like, that really fits in with my current thought processes, and it really fits in with how I'm changing and all of that jazz. So then I started to be really open about the idea of different pantheons and different, things like that, like the Norse gods and the Egyptian gods and Native American gods, and things like that. So so then I started researching into that, and the further I got away from Christianity, I still stuck to I don't like change. So I was going through all of these huge changes in other ways of my life that I didn't really want anything else to change. So I stuck with, I'm never going to work with deity. I've listened to people talk about their experiences, working with deity, who they work with, how they work with them. And, I found it interesting, and I found it very enlightening, I guess, with how other people viewed their religion and how other people, or spirituality, or how other people practiced their spirituality and how they combined deity and their spiritual practice. So, fast forward, a few years, and so my podcast, Craft and Cast, I think it was like episode 2 or 3, where we were talking about our gifts and our strengths and our weaknesses, and I will find that episode and I will link it below. But so we're talking about it, and my friend Salt, she is very much a sea witch. She's very much into death magic and spirit work and all that stuff. And I said in the podcast, I said I would never be able to do death magic because I am such a green witch. I'm such a nature witch, and I know that in nature death comes with nature, but I just couldn't see myself doing death magic or or joining the vulture culture, right? And I said that in the podcast, and Salt looked at me and just kind of laughed and blah blah whatever. And at the time that we recorded the episode, I had actually been feeling things and getting signs, and so I had started to feel like there was just something just on the outer edges, right? Just something that you can feel that maybe has an awareness of you, right? Not really an active interest or, just kind of testing the boundaries, just kind of seeing what's up. So I started getting that feeling, and I talked to Salt about it, and she was like, what if it's a deity? What if it's, a god or goddess? And I was like, yeah, it could be. But I was still in that mindset of, I don't really feel like working with deity is for me, blah, blah, whatever. So, continue on. The feeling just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And it kept bothering me. And I was just constantly thinking about, if there was a deity, who was it? What did they want? And I started to get almost obsessed with this just idea of who could be just hanging out, So I started researching gods and goddesses, and then I actually did, for quite a few nights, I did a little spell ritual right before bed so that I would, number one, remember my dreams, but number two, let whoever was showing an interest to let me know, and kind of figure out who it was. So I did that for quite a few nights, and I kept getting these weird dreams. One dream was I started out and I was on this hilltop, right? This just not really any trees or anything, but it was just this green hilltop, and it was me, and there was quite a few other people there, and we were all dressed pretty similarly, and we were just kind of just hanging out, but we all knew that we were waiting for something, right? And we were very calm about it, but there was this air of expectation, right? And then right as soon as I had that thought, well, in the dream, I had that thought of, expectation, and we're waiting for someone, the dream switched. And then I was in this and when I talk about it, I call it this hellscape, right? And it's just machinery and a dungeon, almost like a gold mine, just those boxcar things, that they would load up, if I can talk, load up with gold, or in a coal mine, they would load up with coal and they would send it up. Well, it's kind of like those boxes, but they were on these chains, and these chains were just and there was just like cages and boxes, and people were in them, okay? Were just like in these cages, and they were just like going by, and it was just like, it was super dark and it was super hot, and I was in a cage, and my thought was, I need to get the fuck out of here, you know, like I need to get out of this cage, I need to get out of this place, like, you know, but this needs to happen now, right? So I'm looking around me, and I look up, and it's just dark, you know, I don't really see anything. I look below me, and it's like this. So, you know, so I thought about it, and you know, in Waterworld, the part where they put him in a cage and they sink him in that like yellow, like goopy stuff, right? It almost looked like that, but with like more like an orangey hue, but it looked super thick, and blech, it was just gross. And in my head I was like, well, where the hell am I gonna go, you know? Like, there's nothing like around me but cages of people moving on these chains. Below me is this like unknown freaking substance that I don't know what's gonna happen if I, you know, fall into it. Well, whatever. Well, I woke up, and that was but the end of my dream. Had another dream to where I was at my house, and I was actually on the property down by my mailbox. And I see these men and this like the group of people, and they're walking by, and for some reason in the dream, I fall to the ground and I hide. Well, I'm listening to them, and they're talking about breaking into my house. And I'm like, no, sir. This is, you know, this is not going to happen, blah, blah, whatever. So I sneak back to my house, I go in, I wake up my husband and my brother, and I'm like, listen, some shit's about to go down. We need to get, you know, ready. So I go and I get our pistol, and then my husband and my brother, they go and get guns, which we don't own a lot of guns, you know. But anyway, they go and they get guns, and so and I run around the house, and I'm closing all the windows, and I'm locking all the doors, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and like I'm preparing, right? And then in my head, I'm like, if like I left the front door unlocked, and in my head I'm like, if they're gonna come in, you know, the front door, I'm gonna be right here and just boom boom, take them out one by one, you know, and be done with it. And that's what they kind of did. They all just kind of like filtered through the front door, and I took them out, but whatever. And as they're like all like lying there on the floor, and my husband and my brother come in, and they're looking at them, the whole dream just like flips the script, right? And all of a sudden it's this family, and they're telling me that they have nowhere to go, and they have no food, and you know, they have no money, and they're starving. It's like a mom and dad and like kids. And then I start to look around, and it's like Christmas, like Yule time, right? And I have decorations up, and my Yule tree is up, and then I look at my kitchen counter, and it's like we had just had like Christmas Yule dinner. There's food everywhere, and in my head I'm like, I need to take care of these people. So I tell them, I'm like, yeah, of course, you know, go in there, eat. We have plenty of food. You can stay here. It's fine. I woke up. Crazy dream, right? I was having crazy dreams like that, where they would either start with like a really good like feeling and be calm and like peaceful, and then it would turn grisly and like blood, and just, it was just crazy, right? So I'm having these dreams, and this feeling is just, you know, and this is like over, you know, like a couple weeks, and this feeling is just getting, you know, stronger and stronger. And then I start getting this feeling of like disappointment. Like whoever is waiting on the edges is just like super disappointed, and like they're pretty much fed up with me like not looking at the signs, right? Well, then I start noticing buzzards. Now, where I live, I do live in a rural community. I do live out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not unusual for buzzards, you know, to be around, because I have a lot of like woods, and like fields and stuff around, you know, but so animals die, you know, the buzzards will come, what have you, right? Well, so it's not unusual for me to see them, but what was happening was they were acting super unusual. Like one day I let my dogs outside, and I just, like walked out with them, and then I noticed, like, I saw shadows on the ground, and I looked up, and there were like 3 or 4 buzzards circling like right above me, okay? And then the circle got like ever just like wider, and then they were circling, like around the property, and I was like, oh, okay, there's probably just like something dead around here, blah, 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 whatever, it's fine. I thought that, and then they came back, and they were just like circling around me, circling around like right over top of our house. I was like, okay, it's kind of weird, And then I was paying attention to my dogs, and then I look back and I see this one buzzard, and it's getting super close to me, and it swoops down and gets uncomfortably close, okay? Shows me its belly with its like talons out, super close, swoops up, and then like flies away. And I was like, okay, like I'm paying attention, whatever. Buzzards don't do that. At least, to me, or, like my experience with buzzards, they don't do that, right? Well, then, I bring the dogs in, and I was about to go record, my podcast with my friend Salt. And so I get in the car, I leave, I'm driving down my road, and there was a buzzard in the middle of the road. Not unusual, generally when they hear or see a car, they'll, like fly, like a short distance away, wait for the car to pass, and then they'll go back and, continue eating on whatever dead animal there is. This buzzard didn't move. It stayed in the middle of the road to where I thought I was going to hit it. Now I'm slowing down this whole time. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, is this buzzard going to move? Is this buzzard, is it going to get out of my way? Like, what's happening here, Well, I'm super close to it to where I can only really see its like face and like, its chest area and stuff. Like, I'm super close. And all of a sudden it shoots up off, like, how they hops up off the ground, and it swoops towards my car and goes, like, it doesn't hit my car, but it goes like up my windshield, and then it flies away. Super weird, right? Super weird. Then I start researching gods and goddesses that have to do with like buzzards or vultures or just, like those types of animals. And the Morrigan kept popping up. And, when I went to record the podcast with my friend Saul, I told her about like what had happened. And the first word she says was, what if it's the Morrigan and she's reaching out to you? Okay, my first thought was fear, because, death gods and goddesses and things like that, like, that's just always my first thought, right? But after she said that, it wouldn't, like, leave my mind, pretty much. And so then I did a Deity dossier, like tarot spread, and the card that came up for who, the deity was the Queen of Swords. And to me, the Queen of Swords is always the Morrigan, right? Well, and then like I kept just like thinking about it and pulling cards, and it kept pointing to the Morrigan, right? Well, so then I was like, okay, if it's the Morrigan, then this is going to happen, blah, blah, whatever. Well, I told my friend about it, and she was like, yeah, it's the Morrigan. She's reaching out to you. So I was like, okay, cool. So I bought a tarot deck to communicate with her better, and it was the Marielle tarot. And let me just show you. So once I got the deck, I asked it, like, okay, who is it that's, like, just, like, give me some, like, inspiration on who is actually reaching out to me. And let me find the card that popped up for me. And it's in here somewhere. Okay. Alright, where are you? But this card popped up and I was like, okay, like, I get it. This is what's happening. Okay. The Queen of Swords. Okay, and this is the Queen of Swords card in the Mariel Tarot. Okay. Look at that. That is straight up the Morrigan, right? Like, the crows or the ravens, the eye, like, it's just... So, the Morrigan was reaching out to me. Finally acknowledged, finally accepted, and we have tentatively started on our journey. My friend is always very interested in, like, how my journey's going and, like, what's happening and things like that. And she likes to laugh at me and say, you know, like, I called this shit. Like, I told you. You should have never said that you would never, like, work with, like, death magic or, like, a death... whatever. So, one way that I'm working with her is, so I bought this little, just like this little journal, and it's not really, so I don't want to show you the first page. So it's basically just, so it's unlined, and, you know, so I'm going to use this to communicate with her, and that is actually a sigil my friend Salt created to help my communication with the Morrigan. And one way that I have been communicating with her is through dreams. That's like a big thing for us right now. So I'm going to be writing down my dreams or keeping track of my dreams. And then I also got this book by Stephanie Woodfield, Dark Goddess Craft, A Journey Through the Heart of Transformation. And it basically talks about working with, you know, the dark goddesses and ways, you know, that you can work with them, because I've kind of just been kind of just like, so I was floundering at first as to how I was supposed to do this, like how I was supposed to work with, you know, a deity. And so I got that book, I got this journal, I'm listening to my dreams, I have the tarot deck, you know, to kind of help me communicate with her. So I think I'm on my way, and so that is the beginning part of my journey with working with deity. I'll probably do, you know, like a video about deity every once in a while, just to, you know, like update you all or let you know if there's any changes or anything like that. But this video was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I did go on a little bit of a ramble, a little bit of a tangent, but it was all backstory. But yeah, so I am working with the Morrigan. I am becoming more used to the idea, more open to the idea. So we'll see what happens. I know she probably has big things in store for me, so we'll see. But this has been my deity story. If you are just newly working with a deity, let me know. Let me know which one, how it's going. I would love to hear. But much love, blessings and growth. Take care of yourselves. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Pew, pew.